So this is a sample of the kind of materials that I'm going to give you. I have a bunch of scans from different sources, some from books, some from websites, of building plans for you. And this is actually the worst set that I have. So the ones you'll have will be better than this. But what we have is the Robie House by Frank Lloyd Wright. And so you have a set of these. And here, actually, these do have a scale. That this is like 4 foot, so these are available online. So what I want to do is start by making all these basically like synchronized. So you could assume right now that these are all the same size. They look like it, but if you really got out your ruler, like I don't think that this quite lines up with the edge. I don't think that this quite. They're like slightly off, right? So to make a coherent set, you're going to want to make those change. And then since you actually have a scale here, what you can do with it in Photoshop then is like once they're all coordinated, take them and then we can make these 30-second scale or make them 8 scale. And then when we print them out on the plotter, we can use our 30-second scale to convert those. Okay. And then we also have some other drawings, and we can make these work too. Like this actually has a, well, it's kind of a center line, but this says 60 foot, if you can see that. We could use this as a scale because we know that there's this edge of the building and like this edge of the wall. And so if we didn't have this scale, we could take this measurement and we know that that's 60 foot.
Right. Okay.
So the first step is just to make everything coordinate. Like scale everything so that they match up. And I have some rough elevations and things like that. So this is pretty. And I have a nice section here. This is actually a section of a smaller piece. You can see that the house keeps going. Yeah. Okay. So first things first. So this is a really good tutorial. I know you guys haven't really talked a lot about Acrobat, like how to get things out of Acrobat. You've probably done some of it, but maybe never had an explicit thing. So PDFs are portable document format, and they're actually an Adobe format, right? Adobe Acrobat. So all Adobe software, roughly, can actually open up PDFs natively. Okay, so you might go in and pick the image, and you can say copy it or save it as. But actually, a simpler way is actually just to go into Photoshop and just open up the PDF. So if I go into my Write demo, you get this dialog that comes up. It's going to think for a minute here. And you can say like, which page do you want to open up, and you can say what's the resolution. I think you want a fairly large resolution for these. 300 pixels per inch is going to be, it's kind of like what a printer, there are better printers now, but 300 pixels per inch is what a really good print would be. And that's what we're going to do, and that's a lot of information. You can see it actually makes it a 17 megabyte file. So let's go ahead and do that for now. You don't need it, if it was only on the screen, you could do something like 100 or 200 or even 72, but for print, you want a pretty high resolution. So I'm going to open up this page at 300 pixels per inch. Adobe's going to crunch for a second. Okay, so now you can see it actually get all these in, and you can see that they actually float. I mean, you can see that there's a transparent background. So we've opened it up, natively. Get quite a bit of resolution. And see, this is why tracing is not good, because you get these kind of blurs with things. It's a little unclear. So anyway, so what I want to do now that I've got that open, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make a new file that's going to be, let's say 24 by 36. And I can always change this later, but I'm just going to make, see, it's a 200 megabyte file. Make a really large, oh wait a minute, I want to read size. I'm at 36 by 24. This is arbitrary, but it's a print size. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to take these pictures and pull them out. So copy, paste, And this is like my desk. I have like a big drafting table, and I'm gonna cut these guys out and put them on my drafting table so I can arrange them and scale them and resize them and rotate them or whatever. It just gives me room to play, you know. Once I've got them all coordinated, then I can resize it or I can put them elsewhere. But this just gives me, like I said, just gives me room to play. You have to start somewhere. Like you have to pick a drawing that everything is going to be coordinated against, and that can be kind of an arbitrary choice. This one has a scale, and if you guys know Robie House, it's a little strange because you kind of go up this front entry. There's this kind of like porch entry. So the main floor is actually kind of the first floor. But let's go ahead and let's go to View, Rulers, and I'm going to drop some guides on this thing as close as I can to the edges of this. And again, they're just trying to be consistent here. And then I'm going to pull some. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the mouse down on the ruler and then I'm dragging down a guide. And I think we've talked about this before.
Is there a way to delete a guide once you put it in?
It's more difficult in Photoshop. The only way that I know is just to say clear guides, which actually kills all of them. It's easier inside of Adobe Illustrator. Okay. Yeah, you can if you put your mouse on it. I think you can grab it and then pull it back up from whence it came.
Fair enough.
Yeah, good call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer. So I just click the little lock here, and then that way I don't accidentally move that. See, I can't move it because it's locked. Then I'm going to go over and I'm going to right click on one of these, and I've got this layer 1 now, and I'm going to start to align it with, and you can see that it's not to scale. Okay, so I'm going to go in. I'm going to do Command T to do transform, and guys, I'm just going to eyeball this. So I'm going to pull this until it looks like it's pretty consistent with it. Okay? And then, you know, to verify, we can take a line from here, and some of this is just kind of fudge too, like it might be just the resolution of the scan, but let's see where things line up. It doesn't quite line up yet. Pretty good. So anyway, this is still kind of by eye. If you wanted to be more careful about it, so you can see I have this thing here. I could go in and play with the transform here, and so I can say it's like 99.9. Ooh, not even 9. 0.8. 0.7. Ooh. There we go. You can play with that. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough. The thing is, think about this. There's perfection on the screen where I can zoom in to like 6,400 times the scale, or there's perfection on my paper where my ruler is going to, you know, line up with it, right? All you want to do is just basically compare apples to apples. So that, let's go through that process again with this last piece here. Oops, should have locked it. So you lock it when you're done, and then let's pull. Go to layer 2 here. Oh, something right. Oh, I might have accidentally. I locked the wrong layer. How about that? So just unclick that. Let's lock layer 2, and let's move layer 3. Okay. So same process for this piece here. Line one of these up, and then rescale it using the old eyeball. And actually, if you have more than one line, I'm actually finding that it makes it, it might make it a little bit easier. These plans might not be so great. I'm actually finding that this, even if I have both of the sides lined up, like this is lining up differently on all 3 of these. So that could be something. Another test to do too, to make sure you've got it, is to move it in this direction. Just make a copy of it and see if this. It's pretty good actually. That lines up okay. Okay, it's fair enough. Again, consistency is the thing. So now we move on, and we're going to go ahead and open up the PDF, and we're going to open up the second page of the PDF, which contains the section. Same deal, 300 DPI. You want the DPI to be the same, right? Because if it wasn't, the scale is going to be different when you put it in. So you just want them at first to be the same. So I'm going to grab this and copy it and paste it. And okay, so, and then what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to rotate it. So hold shift and snap it. Whoa. There you go. And then I'm going to line it up with, I'm going to scale it. Now I'm holding shift right because I want to scale in all directions. I do not want to mess that up. And then I'm going to, so I line it up with one, and then I kind of scale it to the other. Yeah. Okay. And we could run another test here. We could try to drop. Ooh, there you go. See, it lines up.
So what if you just drew a line on the, and then snapped it to the guide?
Draw a line in Photoshop?
Yeah, on the.
You know, in Illustrator, you could definitely do that. In Photoshop, I guess you could use the path tool to do something like that.
Oh, you can't. Oh, you don't snap to Photoshop.
It snaps to, but it's it would be separate from the image.
Oh, you can't. Right, so you could join them.
Again, it's more that works better in Illustrator than it does in Photoshop. And you could actually do all this in Illustrator. You could draw a line on top of it, select both objects, and then use that to snap. And you might like that better. Photoshop is just better at dealing with the larger images than Illustrator, because Illustrator it does raster, but it's really a vector editor. Anyway, so we're dealing with images a lot here. So we've got that, and then the last piece that I'll do here, because I think we've kind of demonstrated our point, is to pull this elevation, copy it. You know what to? Save this thing. What happens if it crashes, right? Save it as a Photoshop file, because you want to preserve that layer hierarchy. You want to preserve, you know, as much information about it as possible. Okay, let's paste this in, and let's line it up with that edge, and then scale it. And that begs a question: is like, you know, I'm going to scale it to this wall, not to the edge of that, where these planters are, kind of like. Mm-hmm. I care about that line more than about the that edge, because I think that's what shows up in plan. That's where the imaginary line is being cut in that plan. So I'm just going to fudge this a little bit, and take a look. Yeah, so I gotta fix that, but pretty close. Anyway, well, let's just leave that for now. But so you've got elevations, and again, a test would be to take your section. And hopefully, I won't embarrass myself here by screwing this up. But you know, if you line these up, they ought to be the same, you know, height. Mm-hmm. I think that there's like I gotta get the right line here, but that or somebody who drew one of these didn't do a very good job. Yeah, see, well, I think there's something with the ground line that I have to. What's that? Yeah, the one part steps down. Again, if you can't, yeah, there you go. So it's like that spring line lines up with that. And I also don't know where this is being taken from. Oh, you know, it's pretty close. If you can't be accurate, again, be consistent. Like, just choose something and like stick with it. But you should be able to get all these pretty well coordinated to each other using this method. Did you have a? Oh, okay.
I was just stretching.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something. Again, you know, if we were really, really careful with it, we could do something like take the like measure tool, you know, and we could measure something here and measure something there, and then we could do a proportional transform. But I think doing it by eyeball is fine. Again, as long as you just like say, okay, I'm going to base all my things off of the one plan, and then everything is going to spring off of that, and then everything off of this elevation, as long as it lines up the plan, and then that's going to override my section. Section's just for information. It's not going to be for measurements. Okay? And that's okay. You just have to stick with something. Okay, so then once you've got your thing, you can actually just go in and crop out the white space that you don't need anymore. And then I'm going to go ahead and save a copy of this again. And now it's time to look at scaling these things to a known scale. Okay, so once you've got the drawings coordinated with each other, so everything is relatively lined up, scales pretty similar, what we're going to do is take the scale that we have and on the drawing, or a scale that you find yourself by measuring like a doorway, as we said, and use that to rescale the drawing so that when we print it out, it's at a known scale, like 1/8 or 1/16 or 1/32, something like that, so that we can use our rulers to translate. So if I zoom in, I can see that this one actually has a scale that says 0 to 4 foot, so I'm going to use that as my reference. So to do that calculation, I'm going to use the ruler tool. So I go in, and actually usually it's the eyedropper. If I go to ruler, I'm going to click and hold shift and pull it over here. And you can see that this gives me a measurement of 0.141. That's in inches because my rulers are set to inches. If your rulers are not set to inches, you want to go up to Photoshop, Preferences, Units and Rulers, and make sure that your rulers are set to inches. So I've got that dimension, that 1.141. So that means that 0.141 equals 4 foot. So what I'm going to do is, to get what 1 foot is, use my calculator here on the Mac. So 0.141 divided by 4 gives me 0.3525. Sorry, 0.03525 equals a foot. Okay, that's inches to a foot. And for reference, 1/16, so 1 divided by 16 is 0.0625, so it's almost twice that. So let's go ahead and divide that, 0.0625, divided by 0.03525. Okay, and that gives us 0.773, 1.773. That's the scale factor. We need to scale the drawing by 177.3%, and that will make it 1/16. Okay. Once you've done that, if you want to make it an eighth, you could scale it by 2. You know, make it a quarter. You could scale it by times 4. Okay. So let's go ahead, making sure to unlock all our layers. Click the top layer, hold Shift, click the last layer, and that's going to give us the full selection. Then I'm going to go in Image. Edit, Transform, Scale. Make sure that these are locked to each other. And I'm going to do 177.3. Okay. I'm going to clear my ruler. Let's find that scale piece again and take a measurement. So almost 0.25, pretty close. So that should tell us. So again, if we're 16th scale, then a 1/4 inch should equal 4 foot, and it's pretty darn close. Good enough. Okay. Again, if you wanted to change the size of this to something else, you could once you have it at 16th, you could double it, and that makes it an eighth. Let's zoom out. So I made my. Now what this did is it actually changed the size of my file, like it increased the size of it, but my border isn't big enough now. See this is 0 to 12 inches. So what I'm going to need to do is actually increase my canvas size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, since I doubled it, I'm going to double the canvas size. So 200%. Let's see what that gives me. Okay, so I got everything back. And then you could always go in, once you've got everything, you can always go in and recrop your image. And I've got this really big piece, and now I can plot this on the school printer. This would fit. This is almost 24 by 24, so you could probably do it on a 24-inch plot right now, and then you could scale this. This is at 1/16. Okay, so hopefully that kind of clarifies things from what we did during lecture. You just gotta kind of put your math hat on and run the calculation. Again, what I did was, since this was 0 to 4, I actually found out what it was for 1 foot, and then that made it easier to do, you know, what like 1/16 was. Okay, so for Thursday, I want you guys to start translating your drawings and work these into a set of plans. Okay, I'll see you next week.